I've always wanted to get my hands on Sivga headphones for review, so much so I didn't even know that they made IEMs. So this has been a very interesting experience with these IEMs in particular. Thank you to the folk at Sivga for making this review possible by sending me this demo unit. All thoughts and opinions are my own. So let's jump straight into how this is built. The unboxing experience of these IEMs is fairly straightforward and to the point. You get everything you need in the box. You get the IEMs, a very high quality cable, a very premium looking and feeling carry case, and multiple sets of ear tips. One set of ear tips, the white stems, have a shorter stem and a wider bore, while the other, the black stem, has a longer stem with a tighter bore. This does alter how these sound, of course, and I've chosen to stick with the black stems for this review. The IEMs are beautifully made with a metal housing which is cool to the touch whenever you first interact with it, and the faceplate is wooden, so I don't think there'll be any other Sivga Que that looks exactly like the ones you're seeing here. They have very well finished nozzles, and the housing appears to have two venting ports on the inner side of it. On closer inspection, the housing does appear to have some sort of glossy finish to it, so it does have a nice shine. The IEMs also have the sections for the 0.78 mm connectors which are recessed. The cable is a high quality silver plated copper cable with one end being terminated to a 3.5 mm auxiliary jack to connect to your music player or DAC amp, and the other side has 0.78 mm connectors. The housings holding the terminations are also very well finished with metal as well. Comfort wise, the IEMs haven't caused me any discomfort, but I do wish the loops in the cable that go around the ear were tighter. These go over and off my ears a little too often. These come with 10 mm beryllium plated dynamic drivers, have a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz, and have an easy to drive low resistance of just 32 ohms. On a volume front, I've had a lot of fun listening to this at about 25 to say 35% volume, but the minute I get over to about 40%, it starts getting a little too loud for me. So if you do intend on preserving your hearing, I wouldn't recommend listening to it beyond 40% volume over prolonged periods of time. When it comes to its soundstage, it does perform like most other IEMs in this price range. It does have a well-centered phantom channel with good left and right separation, and it does give you the illusion of some tones coming from further out of them. Now, I found that this is a lot more apparent when you close your eyes and really listen to your music. So you can sort of place where all your instruments are coming from a little bit better when you have your eyes closed. When it comes to its imaging, it is clean and well defined, but I have found that this is a little bit transparent when it comes to the kind of source or equipment you are listening to. So I was swapping between the portable iFi Goldlink DAC amp and my desktop setup as well, and there are some significant differences between the two, no doubt. But having said that, it's not that there is a huge difference with a portable setup. Of course, I'm talking about, even if you're walking around with a portable setup, you're not going to be really able to tell those differences because of all the noise around you. But when you do A/B testing with a setup like this and something portable, it's bound to make a difference. But it's not that the nuances are robbed from these IEMs with a good enough portable setup. But it does make sense to get some good hardware with this instead of using something substandard. When it comes to its timbre or timbre, I think this is a nice natural sounding set of IEMs. It's not the truest sounding set of IEMs I've heard, but let's say if you're getting into the whole audiophile hobby, this is kind of mid-tier budget. So for a mid-tier set of IEMs, it sounds pretty true to the kind of source that you are playing, especially with some acoustic instruments. Now, the thing is, if you are shifting from a more affordable set of IEMs to this, it'll sound significantly truer than those. So I'd say it's a nice upgrade compared to a starting range set of IEMs, or for that matter, even if this is going to be a first set of IEMs, it does sound very true to an instrument. High frequencies are certainly tweaked, but it does maintain a certain sense of maturity in its presentation. This range does have shimmer and sparkle and stays clear from being over accentuated, but it does handle reverb and echo with more prominence than I've heard with some IEMs in the past. This does help with giving your music more space. Listening to Die With a Smile performed by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, these IEMs ensure the highs never come close to piercing your ears, so I can see anyone who is high frequency sensitive appreciating how these have been tuned. The reverb carried over in this track isn't usually very prominent, but it does stand out very well with these and has a slow enough decay so you can hear the lingering notes in the background. Mid frequencies are certainly recessed compared to the highs, more so in the lower mid range, but Sivga has managed to maintain a good level of roundedness even with female vocals. This range does have a rich amount of detail here with a sense of layering with instruments and vocals, thanks to how well these image and how this range has been tuned. These have good dynamics in this range, and this makes itself more apparent when you listen to audio that is high quality and has a lot more going on in the music than an acoustic track with only one or two instruments. The one negative I feel these have is they seem to have a peak right in the sibilant range, so sibilant sounds tend to come with a little too much aggression. This can be a little too much for someone who is sensitive to this range. Listening to Lionel Richie and Trejania Osterhaus perform Face in the Crowd, both vocals come with a good sense of fullness and separation from one another, as well as the instruments surrounding them, so you can really appreciate all the music in this track over the lyrics should you choose to focus in on it. But every time they say face, that sibilant range stares at you right in the face like a zit about to pop on a teenage boy's nose. Low frequencies have a bit of a lift that I think sounds great with acoustic or classical music, but I think this range's tuning isn't going to exactly keep a bass enthusiast happy. No doubt, these aren't exactly tuned for bass heads. These have a tight enough response with some punch and don't have as much kick in the sub-lows as I think some people will like, but these do sound quite natural in this range with natural acoustic music. Throw some Fleetwood Mac or some Hall & Oates at these and they sure will keep you beaming. But having said that, I did try out some EDM with these. Listening to Alibi performed by Sivga, the sub-lows do come through with enough energy to enjoy the pulse of this track, but I can see some people wanting more rumble from these. Then again, Sivga has clearly not done that to maintain a good sense of detail in the mids and highs, and I like that they've done this. Maintains a level of trueness to the audio you listen to. So to sum up, these do have a beautiful overall finish. I really do like that it has that metal enclosure, so it is cool to the touch. Now, when you first put the IEMs on, if it's in a cold environment, it is a bit uncomfortable, but it does get to body temperature within a few minutes. I really do like that the section that holds the termination is also a metal finish. It's got a beautiful Sivga print on it as well, and same with the 0.78 mm connectors. They've definitely put in a lot of effort when it comes to the overall quality, and of course that wood faceplate is absolutely amazing, because I have checked out some of the photos online and it appears that no two of these IEMs have the same finish, of course, because they are unique, they are genuinely wood, so it's nice to see that change. Of course, what I really don't like is the loop that goes around your ear. Now, I've been trying to sort of adjust it every time because it's not taut enough. It's just sort of just hovering above the ear just a little bit. It doesn't sit behind my ear all the time. It pushes itself up and just sort of sits out of the ear, and it feels like it's kind of trying to pull the sort of IEM out. So if they had a little more tension inward and it was a bit tighter, I think it would sit more comfortably around my ear. But if you've got bigger ears, I don't think you'll have a problem with this. Sound-wise, I really do like how this has been tuned. It's kind of more balanced than anything else. Now, the lower frequencies, of course, I think isn't something a bass enthusiast will, really like. But then again, I don't think bass enthusiasts are really getting into this hobby. I mean, we get into this knowing that, a richness or fullness or too much fullness in bass can eat into a lot of detail, and of course Sivga has refrained from that. Now, I can see some people wanting a little more extension on both ends with the highs and the lows, but I think it's just right, because if you do accentuate the highs a little more, it might get a little too aggressive or a little too accentuated there, which can cause fatigue. This stays clear away from that. These IEMs do have very good separation. In fact, it's got a good amount of layering, I'd say, more so with high resolution audio. That is, of course, thanks to it being more transparent sounding than anything else. There are IEMs that don't have this level of it, but I like that it's not too transparent. So when I was doing some A/B testing between my desktop setup and the iFi Go Link, it's not like it was night and day. Some IEMs are very different because they're overly transparent. So it's nice that this isn't very transparent. It also does mean that you don't have to spend too much money on a portable DAC amp if you are looking at picking up one if you don't have one. So I think it is a bit forgiving when it comes to the kind of source, when it comes to the equipment you're playing. But again, the same thing would apply to also the kind of music you are playing, whether it's high res or compressed. This is a little more forgiving than most other IEMs. It's not very transparent, which is of course a good thing. And of course, what I do like on a sound front is it's not trying to overdo anything. It's kind of comfortable in its own skin. It's not really trying to over accentuate imaging. It's not trying to over accentuate highs. It's not trying to overdo the subs. It's definitely very comfortable in its own skin, and it has its own kind of charm with its overall tuning. And I do like how Sivga has approached this overall approach. And more than anything else, I love how well it's layered, specifically in the mid-range, when it comes to all the instrument and vocal separation. information. It was definitely a lot of fun listening to that track by Lionel Richie that I did mention, of course. And it doesn't struggle with a lot more information when it's thrown at it. Some IEMs, I think those drivers may not be very high-end, but this definitely is very comfortable handling a lot more data and information when it's throwing that audio signal over to you. So anyway, overall, I really do like these IEMs, of course. And if you do want to pick these up, let's jump into the cost. Well, it does, well, it's not available in India as far as I know. I've checked out everywhere, but you can buy this abroad, of course. So if you do want to, and I have access to some links, I will leave them down in the description below. But the cost of these is about $76.90. So if you're buying this from India, it should work out to around 7,000 rupees or maybe more. But all in all, I think it's pretty good value for money, especially, I mean, apart from the sound that is really good, a lot of IEMs come with great sound, but they don't have a nice finish. This is like the whole package. In fact, I think if anyone spots you wearing these, they're going to ask you how much these cost, because these look like they're a lot more premium. The overall quality of the cable, just generally the overall finish is absolutely top notch. So there you have it. That's my review on the Sivga Que, and I do hope that I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. And of course, if you would like to support the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning in for some sound advice.